comes to responding to reviews. I'll explain who should respond to those reviews, how to go about responding to that, and then 5 tips to really dig into battling bad reviews. So what we're going to talk today about is kind of the reviews that you get on Glassdoor that maybe aren't what you want to see or aren't the most positive, how to make the most use of those reviews, how to respond to them appropriately, and how you should communicate this to other members of your team who are in a position to respond. So the first thing you need is a free employer account. This gives you a couple of if you visit employers.glassdoor.com and you just sign up for that free employer account using your work email, Glassdoor quickly verifies that you're in a position to speak on behalf of your company, and we let you go from there. So by logging into your employer center, you can set up what we call company alerts. This allows you to do things like set for an alert to be sent to you when a new review is posted, so you keep updated on any activity on your profile page. You can also flag reviews. This means that if you feel a review doesn't meet our community guidelines, or you'd like someone from our content team to take another look at it, simply hit that flag button when logged into your free employer account, and we'll take another look. You can also get access to some basic analytics to begin monitoring your reputation on Glassdoor. And of course, you get access to all of the reviews about your company, so you can begin to identify different areas for improvement. So really quickly, what are we talking about here? What are the reviews on Glassdoor? What you're seeing on your screen is a snapshot of all of the kind of quantitative data that we have on your Glassdoor profile. So you're seeing your overall rating. In addition to that, we break down various workplace factors that we allow folks to rate you on as well, including things like your culture and values, your senior management, compensation and benefits, etc. Beyond that, we also look at some qualitative data, which is the reviews. So we allow people to simply write their feelings about the pros and the cons of working at your company. Now, we've constructed Glassdoor as a community, and the purpose of that is we want to allow everyone to have a voice. So as an employee or a former employee, we're giving you a platform where you can share your take on what the company was like. Now, in addition to this conversation as well, so we give you the opportunity to add an employer response, which is what you're seeing in the bottom right-hand corner there. So the next subject I want to bring up here is who should actually be the one responding. This is anyone at your company who's in a position to speak on your behalf. What that means is high-level people like the CEO, people in HR who are constantly reaching out to prospective candidates, people in public relations who understand your overall message and your employment brand, and of course marketing professionals who are kind of in that same vein. So when you're assigning people to sort of be in charge of this or focus on responding, think about the people who really understand your company's voice and are empowered to speak on behalf of your company. Should have a voice in the sin. Responding promptly builds trust with candidates, and the more often you respond, the more engaged you look, which is really helpful for your employer brand because it really shows that you are active on the site, you care about what people have to say, and you're interested in joining that conversation with your own voice. So the next question here is, why respond to a bad review? Often people say, shouldn't I brush these under the rug and pretend they don't exist? And while that might be top of mind for you, or it might be kind of the knee-jerk reaction that you feel like you want, we know that 46% of Glassdoor members read these reviews before even speaking with a company or the person in charge of hiring. So consider every review on Glassdoor your first impression. Now, you can leave the reviews to speak for themselves from your current and former employee base, or you can add your own voice to say, this is what this person thought, and this is my response as the employer. This is my perspective on this. So you're giving yourself the chance to make a good first impression. And to be honest with you, I have to tell you, bad reviews, while they might be frustrating at times, end up being good for your business. We know that 95% of consumers trust reviews more when they see both good and bad. And that makes sense as a sniff test, right? I mean, if you're trying to pick a restaurant and you see no reviews about that restaurant, you have no information, you have nothing helping you make that decision from there. Maybe you don't care about the fact that someone said the restaurant was noisy because you're there for the food, and there are 5 reviews telling you this is the best food in town. So might feel very frustrating to get a bad review, and you might have a knee-jerk reaction. You might feel like this version of Amy Poehler here on the left, where she's grumpy and angry. I know I feel like this sometimes in my job. I know we all do. And it's important to not let this face shine through in your employer response. Remember that you're speaking on behalf of your own company, and you need to be more like this, where she's poised, gracious, and she's presenting. On Glassdoor, when you are responding from the employer perspective, it says your title, it says your company name, and it's very clear that you are representing your company. So make sure you're doing that in the most professional light that you can, even if it's frustrating. The other thing I'll say here as a tip is, if you're responding and it feels great, it feels very cathartic, that's not necessarily how it should feel. If you feel like you're getting that person back, take a step back, take a deep breath. Remember that this is something your CEO can read. This is something your grandma can read. So take that into consideration and make sure that this is something you're presenting to a wider audience, rather than just getting back at someone who said something mean about you. And the reason this is so important is because responding to a bad review shows that you care, and it really shifts perspective. We know that 71% of consumers who experience a quick and effective brand response on social media are likely to recommend that brand to others. I mean, that's huge. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what the review said. It says that if you are involved, just by simply being engaged, 71% of consumers are more likely to recommend your brand. So that really kind of emphasizes the importance of engagement here. Like, it's about being involved, and if you can take that step, you're ahead of the game. So I want to get into some say thank you. And what you'll see on screen, so the company starts off by saying thank you, and then Chipotle recognizes that Glassdoor reviews are anonymous and offers an outlet for the employee to go to so Chipotle can address that particular issue that the employee was having. So they're basically saying how much they appreciate what this person had to say, and then giving them an outlet to share even more. It looks like we are a little backlogged on this screen, so you might not be seeing what I'm seeing here. Oh, here we go. So I'll give you a chance to kind of read this through, but basically Chipotle says, thank you for taking the time. Here's where you can share more with us. And this person shares their name. So you can see here at the top where it says Recruitment Communication Specialist, so you know who this is from Chipotle, but then she shares that her name is Jen. So you can follow up and say, Jen responded to my review and this is what she had to say. I think this is a great move for transparency, and it really shows how much Chipotle cares. So thank you shows that you're listening. That's the thing to remember here. 83% of organizations suffer from a deficit in recognition, and this is a great way to say thank you publicly to an audience that already works for you and an audience that is considering working for you. The next example I have here is from 1-800-CONTACT, and the tip that goes along with this is address specific issues. So you'll see here that 1-800-CONTACT starts with a thank you, saying we appreciate your comments. Then they sort of dig into the fact that they request both don't be afraid of these bad reviews because they share more about your business, and that can be an opportunity for a positive situation. So my next tip here is be authentic. I don't think this will come as a big surprise, but it's important to not sound like a robot. So you're setting expectations when you're authentic, and avoid using staged responses because they really come off as terrible. You might as well not say anything if you're going to say the same thing to every person. It makes you seem like marketing speak or management speak. People don't like that. They want to hear from a real human being. So take a look at this response from Loan Depot. They took the time to respond, and they tailor the response for each post in an authentic way. So the company addresses specifics, like we talked about before, and they state the solution that they're going to put in place to work on this strategy. So another tip I have for you here is that responses typically close with a genuine expression of how much the employer appreciates the feedback. And that's a really important point because no matter what the person said, whether it's positive or negative, they took the time to give you some very relevant information about your company, and that should be acknowledged. And keep in mind, it's not a terrible thing for people to know your pros and cons. Job seekers with enough knowledge, for a lot of these, differ from expectations set during the interview process. So that means that more than half of our workforce has some sense of buyer's remorse when they take a new job. And you can prevent that by being the kind of employer who is upfront and authentic about your pros and your cons, and hire the kind of people who are really going to stay. And that saves you lots of money in the long run. So my next tip, this is the last one, is utilize reviews to fix problems. This is a company, Lithium Technologies. They do a really good job on Glassdoor responding to reviews. They acknowledge both the positive and the negative, which I really like here. This is a good way to kind of find out what's good and bad about your company and reiterate that in your employer response. So, you know, again, begin with a thank you. Acknowledge that you're not perfect, which no employer is, and address the specific items brought up in the review. I like this response because it's from the CEO, and I think that's an important point. So if you are the person that's been kind of thrust into the role of being in charge of your Glassdoor profile, know that you can't do it alone. Sometimes you need the CEO's response. Sometimes you need the head of engineering or the head of HR. Know that it's important to bring in the right person to respond who can really kind of say the message from the right source, from the source that people really hear it from. And in this case, the Lithium CEO does a great job of explaining, what they're doing to fix the problem and how they want employees to feel when working there. And this is something anyone can do. So job seekers use the reviews on Glassdoor to make decisions about where to apply, and use your response to emphasize what you want them to know about your company. So really quickly here, I just want to give you the benefits of responding to reviews. We have a program here at Glassdoor called Open Company, and that basically is a program that is completely free, and it highlights the employers that are doing all of the things that we recommend as best practices on Glassdoor. And we give them what we call the Open Company Badge of Approval that goes right on their profile page, and it basically indicates to job seekers that these are companies that truly embrace transparency. And so if you're looking for a company that's going to be more communicative, you want to look for that Open Company checkmark. And as an employer, this is a way for you to say, we're engaged, we're involved on Glassdoor, we want to hear from you, and this is the proof point, is this Open Company badge. And if you go to employers.glassdoor.com, you'll see more information about what it takes to become an company, and it's all the best transparency moves. So it's things like asking your employees for honest feedback on Glassdoor, sharing a link to your Glassdoor profile on your own careers page, and really taking the steps to be involved in the conversation at hand. So I want to leave you with one last case study here. This is from 1-800-CONTACTS, and I just want to showcase this review because I think this response because I think it's a very valuable one. The company is not discouraged by the bad review, and instead they take it as an opportunity to take constructive feedback to heart, publicly. You'll notice 1-800 Contacts isn't being defensive. They're recognizing that even the best companies have room for growth. And, just because an employee leaves your company with a truly negative outlook, that doesn't mean that they have to have the last word on Glassdoor. You can always use it as an opportunity to come off explaining what you're going to do to fix this problem, what has changed at your company since this employee left, and how involved you are as an employer in this conversation. So now I will kick it over to some questions. I'm looking on my sheet here. I think you guys have put in a few questions while I've been talking, so let me go through these. Will the webinar be shared? Yes, so the slides and a recording of this webinar will be shared shortly after we close up here, so you'll all get that in your email. How can you, this is a great one. How can you confirm that those who post comments are actually current or former employees? Is there a verification process for this? So since Glassdoor is a community and we are architects of that community, we're not contributors to it. So since we're unable to fully verify the identity of an anonymous user, we require each user to certify their employee relationship to the company when they post any content. So we also require users to validate their email address before their posts are made available to the community. And this verification process is really important. It allows us to put measures in place to identify suspicious users, and all of these combined with active community moderation and our commitment to review every post allows us to have confidence in this information. Let me see here. So this is an interesting one. The person says, I flagged a review because it incorrectly claimed we did not offer medical benefits, but Glassdoor did not accept my question of the review. What's the best way to proceed if incorrect information is posted in a review? So again, Glassdoor, we are architects of a community and we do not act as the finders of fact. So in this case, we have someone saying that you do not offer medical benefits, and you're saying, hold on, we in fact do. This is the perfect opportunity for you to provide an employer response with a link or more information so that you're verifying that from the employer perspective, this isn't the case. This employee in your eyes is mistaken, and here's the proof point. Here's where you can find out more information. So in this specific case, I would add the employer response that we in fact do offer medical benefits. Here's where you can find out more information about that, and here's where you can go to reach me or another member of my team if you'd like to talk about this personally. And that way everyone who reads that review will see both that person's side and your own side as the employer. Do we have any others here? Bear with me while I check through these. Let's see. Does Glassdoor remove negative reviews for employers who buy its services? Absolutely not. And I'm really glad you asked this question because it's a really important point for our site. So we apply the exact same standard of review for all content, whether or not the content concerns an employer that is a client of Glassdoor. And we take this policy extremely seriously. If we decline to remove a negative review before an employer becomes a client, that employer won't have any better luck convincing us to remove the review once they do become a client, no matter how much money they spend with us. And this is really to protect the content within our anonymous community of contributors. And, just to add on to this, we believe each employer has the right to respond to a review left by a member for free. And the tools we offer employers to manage their reviews are the same for client and non-client companies. So no matter who you are, you can have a free employer account which allows you to respond to reviews, and that's a really important point I want to emphasize. Oh, this is a question I get all the time. Do you recommend responding to them though they are outdated? I absolutely recommend responding. Now, here's the thing to think about. If you're overwhelmed with all of the reviews you have on Glassdoor and you feel like you can't respond to everyone, respond to the ones that you deem most valuable first. So maybe that's the more recent ones. Maybe those are the ones for certain jobs you're actively trying to hire for. But in this case, if you see an outdated review that you feel like deems a response, absolutely go ahead and respond to that. Because guess what? It's been a year things have changed, and you can use all of those things that have changed to really speak to that review and say how much better your company has gotten, maybe based on this feedback. So that's a really awesome way to update people in your company. How many responses should you respond to? One, you need to respond to them all. What is the perception? And they see a response from you, they're 71% more likely to recommend your company to others. Now, does that mean you have to respond to every review? Well, if you have 1,000 reviews, you're probably not going to be able to do that realistically. But you can put some kind of cadence in place. Now, what I would recommend is showing your involvement in however much time you can commit to this. So the company alerts feature is actually really valuable here because you can start responding to reviews and start with the one that was most recently posted and respond to them once a week following that. You can respond to a few prior ones that may have outdated information, but make sure that you're kind of getting a handle on this so when people are evaluating your company, they get a sense that you are involved. How long do the comments stay on the website? Indefinitely. This isn't something that goes away after a while. The point of Glassdoor is to help people jobs and companies they love, and that's not something we'll take away just because it's been a few years. Let me see if there's any others here. How can we remove a negative comment if desired? So Glassdoor does not remove negative find someone else's review and removed. However, if you meet our community guidelines or you feel like it's slanderous or it's cutting someone down in a really serious way, you are always welcome to flag that review. And what happens when you hit flag this review is that our team of human content moderators go back into the review, they reread it and recompare it to our community guidelines to really gauge if this is something that is appropriate to be on our site or not. And this is another recommendation, because I've been doing this a while. When you flag a review, make sure you're including as much information as possible about why you deem it to be inappropriate. This helps our team work a lot more efficiently when responding and figuring out if this meets our guidelines. Ooh, when someone posts a comment and I respond, does that person get some kind of notification that there is a response on the site? That is a great question, and yes, they do. So if someone leaves a review and a year later they get a response from their employer, they'll get a little ping notification in their email from Glassdoor saying that that happened. And another question I get on this all the time is, does that person then have the opportunity to respond? And the answer is no. So we believe that everyone should have a voice, but we are not in a position to set you up to have some kind of long back and forth. So we allow the employee to leave a review, we allow the employer to leave a response, and we leave it at that. All right, well, here, and I think we got to a lot of the common questions. If your question didn't get answered, feel free to email me at lisa.golden@glassdoor.com, and I'll be sure to respond to you. It looks like we are about 3 minutes ahead of schedule, so enjoy those 3 minutes back in your day. And I am looking